Hello.
Hey, so here we are. So you guys are up in Buffalo. You're getting ready for the 2 games today with a blizzard attacking us. Kids are home from school today, so it's a good old-fashioned snow day here at home.
Mm-hmm.
Fun, I actually, it's funny how much have kids been up to like waiting to remember on the radio thrills you still when you find out that school's actually closed, like it was today.
Well,
do they still find out? Do they get a text, or do they have to listen to the radio, or just watch television?
You actually get a call from the school now. Like they have an automated system.
Oh, okay.
So they call.
So it's like a robocall.
Yeah. So it's not like nearly as exciting as it used to be. Because I grew up in Cherry Hill, which was 5:51s. You would listen to the news talk radio. They would say 4:49 closed, 4:50, 5:52, 5:53. It was always like that was kind of like my youth. Always like our school district never closed.
No, they see the way they did it here was in alphabetical order. So if God forbid you went to like the Cheektowaga school district and they were on Depew, they were on D. You had to wait all the way to go D through Z to get back to C. It was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So the kids
we all used to listen to the radio. It's funny.
Oh yeah. It was like the big thing. Russ, we don't see your head at all, like when we're just in this like view here.
Okay, hold on. I'll push it back. I'll give you the long view. Hold on.
Give us the panoramic.
Yes. Now you can see. I can see it here. If you can't see it, then that's a problem. But
no, I think it's okay. Like when we replay the YouTube. And it'll show your head and everything else, but in the little window, it looks like you've been decapitated.
Yeah,
really? Because I see my head completely here. Okay,
yeah, don't worry about
it. Your nose. Well, we see your eyes, sort of. So we're okay. It's fine.
No, I mean, when we move back, then it's just going to be like looking further away. Like I don't know.
No,
that's fine. You're fine. It's close enough. I mean,
so we've had speaking of that, we have had a cancellation.
Yes. Yeah. Let's start the show, and we'll get to that. Hello, Hockey World. It is Thursday, January 4th, 2018.
I'm Michael Lagello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I am Eklund, and you're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every month.
We were watching it.
Coming through this tape. What was that?
You're freezing up. You're freezing up occasionally here.
It's glitchy.
It's very glitchy.
It's glitchy.
So, all right. Well, all right. Yeah, log out and log back in. And if you need an invite, let me know. But
tell everybody.
Yep. Okay. So we'll start with the cancellation. The Florida Panthers and Boston Bruins game tonight at TD Garden in Boston is postponed due to this. They're calling this thing like so many weird things. Like hobo Genesis or winter. It's like
somebody. When I heard the bomb Genesis thing, somebody posted a picture of Genesis on Facebook, and it was without Gabriel. And I'm like, why is it the Genesis without Gabriel? Like, I don't understand.
They posted a picture of Ray Wilson. That's what they. That's what they did. Great, wonderful.
But yeah, it's a bomb Genesis, or it's a something else, a bomb cyclone.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a nor'easter, for crying out loud. That's what
it's a nor'easter. It's dropping snow. I get it. The good thing is they canceled early.
Yes, they canceled early, and even better for us, Russ, is the fact that the outer edge of this is nowhere close to Buffalo. So all Buffalo is going to get is cold wind shock, and
which is crazy. I mean, right now there's more snow in southern New Jersey than all of Buffalo. Like, it is crazy.
Well, and nobody's interested in this, but I'll just say briefly, the famous blizzard of 77 that Buffalo is more infamous for, it was only, I think, 1.5 feet of snow. It was the wind. It was the fact that the wind was like 60 miles an hour, and it was blowing that 1.5 feet of snow into massive drifts. So
now I can give you a little background on that. So my brother was going to school here at that time, right? And on General Hospital, they had this storyline about the Ice Princess.
Yes.
And they were showing like Buffalo shots during that storm with like the buses and all that. That's what they used on General Hospital was Buffalo.
Well, Port Charles was based on
I know.
Buffalo, so there you go.
I know.
All right, let's try this again.
I'm here.
There you go. I think this is better. Go ahead.
Think it's better? Okay.
Yes, you're not glitchy.
Oh, that's not for you to decide, Russ. Okay, so yeah, doing the best we can here. No, anyway, yes, we have had a cancellation. The storm is battering the East Coast here. It's got a name. I forget what it's called. I love how
we just went through it. It's either like a bomb genesis or a cyclone bomb, but we just said it's a nor'easter.
I know. I love how everything's a bomb now. You know.
Yeah. If it was if it was a bomb,
Mother Nature and say my bomb is bigger than your bomb, Mother Nature.
Yeah. If it was a bomb genesis, it would be called Invisible Touch. But
yes. So anyway, we have the cancellation of the game, and you guys talked about that, I'm sure. So
yes,
yeah. So where we are, but that doesn't mean things are being canceled in Buffalo, because we know that's not the case. Because in
Buffalo's clear. I mean, it's good. The weather's good.
You guys can do whatever you want there, and you can. It's funny. I've never really, out of all the years, Mike, have games been canceled in Buffalo?
Yeah, there's been a few. But the funny thing is like the game, like when the storm usually hits in Buffalo, it's always the game after that gets canceled. There was a game against San Jose a few years ago when we had a massive storm. I think it was October or November, and there were maybe 400 people in the stands because nobody could get to the arena, which actually is close to what some of the games for the World Junior has been. But yeah, so but normally they'll cancel the game after because if it's right after that, because yeah, it's just tough to clear out the Buffalo streets downtown when the city itself gets hit massively.
Yeah. So this is this is nothing compared to that. We're talking like 4 to 7 inches of snow here, but
right. It's just a lot of wind.
Yes.
Where you are, Russ, you're getting where you live.
No. At home in South Jersey, there's a lot of wind.
Yeah, they're getting hit pretty good though, actually. I think with more snow than that. But yeah, we're doing. We weren't supposed to get any, so the kids were excited to hear the school closing today. That was exciting.
But why don't we talk about the World Junior off the bat, because sort of get out of the way and talk about the two games. The first one, Russ, is Sweden US at 4:00, and since I've been at most of the games, in my determination, I think Sweden has been the best team in the preliminary round, the most impressive, but they're not unbeatable. So I think this is a game that's going to be very competitive, and the U.S. I think has a pretty good chance of getting to the final for a second year in a row.
They do. The U.S. definitely has a tough path, but sometimes, when you're playing good teams like this, you just sort of stay in lockstep with your best play, and I think that's what they'll do. I haven't heard about Logan Brown. I don't know his status.
Right.
I'm going to guess he's not playing, but if he does play, that'd be a real shot in the arm.
Yeah.
But if they go with 11 again, they at least were used to it from last game. Sweden will definitely hurt them a little bit with that, though, because they got some skaters that could wear guys out. Mm-hmm. I mean, Janssen, Zetterlund, Dahlin, these guys they're fast. They skate circles around guys with the puck. But you can get some past Gustafsson. I think they're going to have different in a grittier sort of forechecking game, and they have the big guys to do it, the Max Joneses of the world and the Tufties, and I think that's where they could really take advantage of Sweden. But I think this is a close game. The U.S. can win 4-3, but it's a close one.
Yeah, the thing that I'm concerned about with the U.S., if they play that sort of like in-your-face style, be a little more physical with the Swedes, is them taking penalties, because the Swedish power play has been really, really good for the entire tournament. Now they pretty much been going 4 forwards, same unit, Pettersson, the Vancouver first-round pick, Elias Anderson, Zetterlund, Alex Nylander from the Sabres, and Dahlin as the point guy, and they've been out there for most of the power plays. But they started to switch it up a little bit at the end of the preliminary round, mixing in Brandstrom, mixing in Liljegren, and they were still effective. So the U.S., they should try to be physical with them, but they got to make sure that they don't get a little overzealous and take some penalties, because I think the Swedish power play will kill them if they do.
Well, I'll tell you one thing they can take advantage of, and again, like Brandstrom has been great too, his passing and everything. But the one thing they can take advantage of, like there's been some plays where Nylander, even on the power play, was susceptible to shorthanded opportunities because like it's sort of like a lazy pass or not a great pass. Like we've seen them even on the power play become susceptible to shorthanded goals. And I think when you have guys like Yamamoto and Middlestat out there, the U.S. could get a couple of shorthanded chances. And I think that's a key thing, especially like you said, if they can't keep them off the power play, because they're going to draw penalties. The Swedes are going to draw penalties. There's no way around it.
And it's not exactly a revelation to say that, you know, it's expected that Wall's going to be the goalie for the U.S. And if he is, he's going to have to play as well. Because I thought he played well against the Russians. I think he's going to have to play as well as he did in that game for the U.S. to be able to win.
Yeah, I don't think it was an easy game for Wall because the Russians are really talented and they have a lot of guys so I think that was a good tune-up for Wall, though, because I felt like for the most part, he was really good with his clears and his covers. And I think if he continues with that, that'd be great. Because, look, Ottinger's got the better stick. He can make those great passes and stuff, but they're not using him. So I think Wall will play to his strengths, and that is, just not giving many other chances. And I think that's a good thing this game. The good thing about Sweden is they're not really crashing the crease that much.
No. And the other game, the Canada-Czech, I mean, when any junior team, it's possible that they lose. I would be dumbfounded, even though the Czechs have some talent. You mentioned it yesterday. Zadina is going to be a top 5, top 10 pick. We know how good Neckish is. Their goaltenders played well in this tournament, but Canada is so Canada is so deep that I don't see a pathway for Canada losing this game unless Carter Hart doesn't play well and he lets in a few bad goals.
But he's played so good. Like that's the one thing I've seen a lot of like negative posts about the Flyers online. And so I get that they're not happy with the big team right now, but I keep trying to push them towards, well, then you should be watching Carter Hart because, he's getting closer and he's been the best goalie in this tournament. And to me, if I'm a Flyers fan, that's what I want to focus on is that guy. And he is going to lead Canada. He really, you can't get in his head. There's nothing that really seems to upset him. He doesn't panic. And again, this is the first year that I can think of in a lot of years where Canada doesn't have a goaltending controversy and they haven't pulled a goalie and it's actual stability for them in the net. That's huge for Canada.
Yeah. And the only controversy right now go ahead. Sorry.
He's an interesting goalie in terms of, I watched him in the one preseason game this year. I haven't seen him nearly as much as you guys have live at this point. But just watching him in the one preseason game for the Flyers, just incredibly impressed. Just with you can just and that calmness is the thing that you get right away, and that confidence that to a team is definitely something there's young defense Flyers fans can be really excited about moving forward. I mean that's going to be something that's going to it could all gel together at the right time for them, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, not only calmness in games, in preliminary games or a game against Switzerland. In that game at the stadium, the outdoor game, even though Canada blew the 3-1 lead and lost in the shootout, I mean, I don't think it was on Hart. I think Hart was.
No, he made a lot of great saves in that game.
He made it exactly. And he was calm and stable, and I think it looks good for the Flyers. But don't rush him. Don't throw him in the NHL as a 20-year-old. I don't think Ron Hextall will do that. But you've got somebody who, if you develop them properly, could be your goaltender for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, and Canada's been playing like a team. Like they have a great forecheck. They've got really solid defense. They've got that top line I like a lot. Kairu's in on everything. There's a lot to like there. They may not have the huge superstar names, but they're playing like a team and they're dangerous.
One last note: the Elliot Friedman reported yesterday. We were talking about players that are playing in this tournament that are going to go to the Olympics, and this makes a lot of sense. Sam Steele might be on the radar for Team Canada because Regina is getting the Memorial Cup. So him being away from the Pats is not going to affect their chances in the standings at all in the Western Hockey League standings because they're already guaranteed to be in the Memorial Cup. So Steele might be on the Olympic team because of that reason.
Now that'd be a big boost to him. I mean, I'm a big Sam Steele fan. He does everything well. He's there for rebounds. He's there as a shot initiator. He's a great passer. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that you just don't see him making mistakes. Like he's opportunistic, man. If they could get him on that team, he'll do something.
Yeah, and there was talk that it was going to be, maybe Robert Thomas or Kairu, but those situations are different. So I mean, it's not a guarantee, but that sounds like a pretty good idea because it's not going to affect his junior team at all.
Yeah, I will tell you, I did a little digging. I looked up, James Wisniewski's on the American roster, and I wanted to see what the play is like in the DEL2, because we don't know, right? We don't see these games. And so I have some reporters that I know over there who cover, and so they said the DEL2 is the equivalent of the DEL's AHL, and then I spoke to Shane Malloy, and we kind of put it through the blender, and it's probably a little less than ECHL play. Probably like SPHL play.
Wow.
Right.
Well, Scott Darling made it, so there you go. All right.
Yeah, it's
so. I mean, Wisniewski will be a guy to watch, but I don't think he's going to get an NHL job out of this. That's my point.
I think he's going to be a force, though. I do, because I think he really wants to get an NHL job out of this. I think
No, I think he does, but I think
players. Yeah, I think that's why he's doing it, and I think that he's.
Well, if he stands on his head, Russ. But with the number of teams out there that are looking for even a bottom pairing defenseman who can provide something, he might get a sniff. But if he's just
he might get a sniff.
If he just blends into the woodwork, then who knows?
I've always been a Wisniewski.
I know Brian Gianta's looking. I know Gianta's looking for that, but he would really have to be amazing in this tournament for anybody to take him at this point.
Yeah. Have you heard anything about Iginla? Because I mean, I've heard he might be on the Olympic team, or he's probably not going to be. I mean, I haven't heard anything in the last.
I am shocked. I don't think he's going to be on the Olympic team, and I'm really surprised by it personally. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people who thought he would be. I don't see why he wouldn't do it. If I was him, I would do it. Maybe
unless he wasn't asked, he might not have been asked.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't asked, but why would he not be asked? I mean, that's he's done everything that Canada's ever asked of him in his career. Like when you look at. We talk so much about the careers, that players have NHL careers and country careers, and they're totally separate. Iginla, Iginla, like certain players just make the teams in their countries because they've been there for their countries even when they don't have great NHL years. Well, but Iginla's been there for Team Canada, so this is really. I would have to think this is Iginla's choice if he's not there. I really would have to think that.
Although I did hear there was some inactivity early in the year because of an injury that he was, he wasn't skating.
Yeah, and that might be the case.
And if that's the case, then
he's just not healthy enough, or doesn't want to embarrass himself, or whatever. He's not going to go over there and embarrass himself for sure.
Right.
But I would be surprised if he's healthy. This is his choice. There's no question about it.
Sure.
And I don't know if he wasn't asked and he wanted to go, that would be a big story in Canada.
And I think
have we seen any of the jerseys yet for the unified team? I want to see what they look like.
I know. I hate
the funny thing is, I heard from someone that the reason that the KHL hadn't given the complete thumbs up to what was going on was because it was a dispute between the IOC and the Russians about the jersey, what the jersey would look like. And I'm really they're holding up things because they can't agree to have just the Russian jersey with the Russian emblem ripped off, or I don't know. It's this whole.
I want to see what the unified hat looks like. I might want one.
They should just do the Olympic circles across the crest. That would be awesome. Just do that. That's it. That's all you need.
Like translucent Olympic circles, no colors in it.
Yeah, something like that. Like something cool.
5 white circles on a white hat. You can't even see them.
Now, speaking of which, Eck, I don't know if you saw, they do have the Olympic jerseys out for the NHL, not the Olympic, the NHL All-Star jerseys.
Fantastic transition, Russ. I have that up. And I'm just going to bring that up right now. Here we go. So here we are looking at them. I, for one, think it's time to do something different. These are okay. The one thing, as a soccer person who, not by default, because I'm not a soccer fan, but I coach soccer all the time and I'm around it all the time now. So because my daughter's a really big soccer player, but I am so tired of the Adidas stripe thing, and that they did that on the sides of these things makes me angry.
Well,
that doesn't bother me. I don't know why it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, compared to other All-Star jerseys, these are not terrible. I mean, I've seen some. I remember some of those Campbell Wales jerseys back in the day that looked like somebody puked. It was a barfing of color. It was just like
no. Hold on. The Pacific jersey that is an homage to the Campbell is awesome with the stars. If that's the one I would want. That's the one I like, actually.
Yeah, this one up here, right? Yeah, I hear you. I mean, that's okay. I mean, what I wonder
But
is
there's
this.
all levels of ugliness. Like all-star jerseys are always ugly. The only time that I could think of in the last decade that they weren't, and it's more than a decade now, is Minnesota's were really nice, but most of the time they're ugly.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
One back there that is pretty. I mean, they're okay. They're like. I mean, I think whenever there's an All-Star game, the home team has a logo for it, right? And there's a really cool logo that the home team has on the ice, and it's usually on this. It'll be on the sleeves probably of these jerseys or whatever it is, And why don't we put that in the center instead of the NHL thing? Because like that would. So when you bought the jersey, if you bought a jersey, you'd be able to say that was the year it was in Tampa. That was the year it was in Philly. Instead of putting the NHL logo in there constantly.
I get that. I do get that.
Patch that is the logo for that All-Star game in the middle of these jerseys.
Yeah.
Whenever there's an All-Star game, I can't wait until the All-Star game is over with.
Well, I know, but I just think the NHL is missing a trick on that because I think some people are like, well, I've got it. Once you have an All-Star jersey with an NHL crest on it, you have an All-Star jersey with an NHL crest on it. The colors could be slightly different, but like a different crest on the middle would make these things more collectible. I think like they would be more interesting, and you could say that.
I think they would definitely have a better secondary market value. I agree with that.
Yeah, because so whoever's the MVP of that particular All-Star game, you have that jersey, get that jersey signed by that guy with that crest on it. That's cooler than saying, oh, that was the year he was MVP. But
it's
you
a
have
good
to remember
point.
that.
I think if you did that, you might eliminate the initial or the immediate 50% off sale right after the game.
Right, which is immediate. Like during the game it was the funniest thing. I went to Hockey Heaven around here, where whatever the place is called, this big hockey giant, I think it's called. And during the All-Star game we went. It was just coincidental because like we're not usually often watching the All-Star game or whatever. I was here that year and I went, and during the All-Star game they were on sale like during the game. Yeah, you're right. It's immediate. It's totally immediate. I don't know. I agree. They're okay. They're not terrible. The orange one is orange and black.
But the Pacific is the one. That's the one I like. I like that one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't dislike that. Now, I did something today on the. We only had 2 games last night. The only thing to me interesting about last night really was Detroit just not going away. Like to me, this was a game that Detroit beats Ottawa last night, right, 2-1. It's not a big deal. Obviously, both those teams are not in the playoffs, but I keep thinking that is going to win this game. Like watching this game, Ottawa's going to get the points because they're a better team. They need the points. They've got Matt Duchene. They've done all this stuff. And Detroit continues to get points despite the fact that they are in this rebuild. They continue to not completely go away. They are
right.
And they're kind of battling in a weird way. They're not a great team, but they're doing better than they should.
I mean, I always saw highlights, but it was pretty impressive seeing Athanasu get that overtime goal in 6 seconds, tying a record. Like the speed was all of it. Like the minute he had the puck and he took one step, it was over.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, to me, this is a battle of 2 teams that are clearly not making the playoffs. I mean, look at the standings. Florida and Detroit are at 39 points. Toronto's at 48. They're further away from the wild card than they are from 3rd place in the division. So unless like Russ said yesterday, unless Andrew Hammond steps into goal and or a reasonable facsimile gets in goal for one of these teams that are in the bottom half of the bottom half of the Atlantic Division, they're all done. And you have to factor in that Ottawa, Montreal, Buffalo, and Detroit are going to start dumping pretty soon. They're going to start trading some of the restricted.
I think Detroit's going to wait a little while, though, because the Mantha was clicking again, and I think they've been on a little bit of an upswing lately, so I think they're going to try and ride that a little.
They might, simply because they don't want to admit with the first year of their new building that they're already in the let's sell off and rental mode. You're right. But Ottawa, Montreal, I think they're going to do it as soon as maybe even the All-Star break.
I think Ottawa's open for business now.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, and I do think. The other game last night did have some. The Chicago Rangers game. The fact that the Blackhawks won that game was important. I think for them. The Blackhawks, at some point, we would think, in the new year, you think they're going to make their run. This is when they're going to start to make their run if they're going to make a run.
True, but this is a game that perpetuates. There's a narrative in the Ranger fan base, and it's purely coincidental, but it gets talked about and tweeted about a lot. And that is, if there's a goalie that's either first time or first couple of starts, and he comes in there and they always win. And so like fans always default to that. And it does seem like there's an inordinate amount of times where it's happened. I don't have a stat to back it up, but fans feed off of that. And Jeff Glass, like, he had a really good game. Like it's not like he was untested. He was really good. That was a big thing in the game. It was pretty close for a while. I mean, the funny thing is that the Patrick Sharp goal was the one that seemed like it really killed the Rangers. And maybe Patrick Sharp's going to start, being Patrick Sharp again. If he is, that's really going to be good for Chicago.
Yeah, especially when they sign him for, I think it was $800,000. If they get anything more than 10 to 15, if they get like more than 10 goals out of him, that's a. I know that there's been some people who are thinking that if Brandon Saad and Russ, this goes into the Panarin trade, is that Brandon Saad in his second incarnation with the Blackhawks has not been as effective, and I still think. This is that trade was not about talent level. That trade was about cost certainty. And that's what people. I mean, Panarin is clearly the better player. He's playing that way with Columbus right now. But it was the fact that Panarin after next year was probably there was no way that the Blackhawks could sign him for more than he's making right now, which is $6 million because of Kane, Taves, and all the other big contracts.
I'll tell you the best thing. Sorry, Ek. The best thing I saw in that game from a Chicago perspective was I saw Seabrook look really, really good. And I think maybe the fact that he had a little bit of a respite helped him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're going to need. I mean, they need so much more out of Seabrook and Keith than they're getting. I mean, that's the big. Yeah. When you talk to people in Chicago, the Panarin trade was, and it's funny. Like, I have a real diehard fan, it's a good friend of mine, who says that Panarin trade was about choosing Taves over Kane. And that was what they felt like, because Kane and Panarin worked so well, and Taves, you're bringing back Saad, who is Taves' guy. So that trade was really about the fact that they really felt like they had to give Jonathan Taves a boost. And it really hasn't worked that way. Wow. But, that was more about Taves, giving Taves a boost. I mean, Taves is the kind of scorer he's not like a natural scorer all the time. He's not going to put up huge numbers. But and so his numbers drop a little bit, and then suddenly everyone's freaking out because they aren't that great.
Well, I also think it's the fact it's an acknowledgement that they think Kane can be at the same level or close to it without Panarin, that he can create with Ryan Hartman and Anisimov, and maybe he can. I mean, but Taves needs help. He's a great two-way center. He's great on faceoffs. He's a leader. He's won cups. But offensively, he's like Kopitar. Kopitar is a good offensive player, not a game-breaking offensive player. And Taves needs players to play with, and Saad fits that.
I did laugh at JR when he was doing the post game. He talked about there was one play where Chicago got a gift of a goal. I think it was a penalty that happened that didn't get called, and they went out on Lundqvist and got a goal. And he was like, they got that wrong, but hey, the Blackhawks got the win. And he flipped the switch right back to being a Chicago guy. It was funny, but he did show they did show a video of his first game, and Roenick didn't even have his name on his jersey. Like, Chicago didn't even have the name on the jersey, and he scored a goal in his first game, and he was nameless.
So that is so funny.
That was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, no, he's really. What do you guys think of Jeremy Roenick's ping pong table things? By the way, I want to ask that.
I haven't noticed it.
You haven't seen it?
Yeah, he's doing like a first intermission, like, with a player. They're playing ping pong, and he's asking him questions.
Is he good at ping pong? Is it?
Well, actually, what he's doing is he's asking questions. I can't remember who it was that he was talking to during the Winter Classic, but he was basically asking them questions about himself. Like, Jeremy Roenick has tamed rattlesnakes, true or false? And then the guy.
Because he's wrestled an alligator. Like, that's the JR I want to see. I want him out in the field, like Wild Kingdom. Like Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, and I want to see Jeremy Roenick wrestling alligators and doing that in the intermission. That would be awesome.
But preferably not ending up the same way as the crocodile hunter. No, yes, no. It was Jack Eichel that he was talking to, and Jack Eichel did not know that he wrestled rattlesnakes or whatever.
I wanted to try something with you guys because
I don't know if he wrestled that rattlesnake. I saw that video. He was just as afraid as that rattlesnake as the snake was of him.
Right.
I think he just, he did it, but it wasn't like with a lot of confidence.
As you're saying,
to wrap up today with the last like 15, 20 minutes here, this is something I put out today, which is now I've been doing this thing that called You're the GM. And last time I did it, remember I did a trade for Erickson and had people propose trades and we talked about it on the air. And today I did a trade for Carey Price. And I mean, I did a trade for Carey Price about a week and a half ago. And because of the holidays, it took a while to get it back out. But yeah, I think this is a good experiment to go through. And, it pretty much hasn't changed much, the idea of whether or not, Carey Price could be traded. Now, the background on Carey Price, obviously, the secret word, I mean, not the secret word, it's not very secret, but the word within the industry is if Carey Price went somewhere else, it would probably be Vancouver, right? That's where he would like to go eventually. He's from that area, correct?
He's from Western Canada.
I don't know where Price is from.
I've heard
Vancouver.
I've heard
he is from northern BC. I was told. I just got a message. He's
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Thanks for the we appreciate our crack staff and behind the scenes helping out there.
From the cheap seats.
I wish I had a crack staff member here to make me not look so stupid all the time. All right. So anyway, so yeah, Vancouver is the place that, so I was kind of expecting some Vancouver proposals in this, and I didn't get any. But I got some from other places, and some of them were relatively interesting. And I wanted to go through them with you and
go ahead.
Show you what I said. Now, the chances of this happening are very small. Let's start off with that right off the bat. Like
I will go with like 1%. I'm giving it a 1% chance, just so you know.
Yes, of any any of these happening. Yes.
Carey Price is the savings and loan, as they say. Like he is the one who you need. Carey Price. If you're not, Carey Price isn't there, you're gonna, Potter's gonna come in and shut down the Bailey's savings and loan. This. Okay, Carey Price is the savings and loan. He's got to be there.
So Carey Price is married to Donna Reed. There you go. Okay.
Right. So starting there, but so Adelius 001 was kind of cool because he's a Montreal fan. And he sort of started the whole conversation off with what he thinks the asking price would be, right? And he says, and like I said, this is all an experiment. So he said you would definitely want a true number one center. He said you want a left-handed defenseman. He said a first and second round pick, and that's where he started at. So like you're getting a true number one, a top defenseman first.
Yeah, but they need a goalie back in return. Like if they're actually going to make that trade, they need a goalie back in return. There's not like a lot of goaltending prospects in Montreal for long term.
But his belief was that there is, but we'll get to that in a second.
Charlie Lindgren, really? No.
Yeah,
I guess he knows more than I do. So you're right.
No, he doesn't.
So a Montreal fan jumped in with this trade concept, trying to get with Edmonton.
Okay.
Moving Draisaitl, Talbot, and a first-round pick for Price and Galchenyuk. So putting Galchenyuk into the deal as well.
and Galchenyuk. Just throw him in. Third pick of the draft.
What I found with this, this is a lot of people tried to put Galchenyuk into the deal
Peter
as well.
Chiarelli just had a heart attack, by the way, hearing that.
Put Juleson into the trade, right? So, I do think that taking Galchenyuk out of the equation and just saying, to me, like if you're talking Montreal and Edmonton, okay, Draisaitl is a good name to go with. Okay, because Draisaitl, okay, that's a good name to put in there because you're talking about a superstar first, top line center. That is that, right? Talbot, you are getting a defenseman back, first round draft pick, so that's not horrible. Draisaitl, Talbot, and first for Price. Let's discuss that for a second.
Okay.
So that
you wouldn't get the first.
Yeah,
if you got a first, they would have to give a conditional something on the back end. It probably would be a conditional first.
I'll disagree.
You're not getting a first in that deal.
I'll disagree with Russ in the sense that, like in this deal, I don't think Montreal is going to concern themselves with getting back a number one in Talbot because, I mean, you're trading Price. I think you're basically admitting that you're rebuilding the team, and you'll find your number one goalie eventually. But at that point, it's like you're more concerned with getting rid of 8 years at 10.5 million or 10.5 million, and getting the most in return back in terms of a young center like Draisaitl and maybe a defenseman.
It's not like Talbot's contract runs forever. They're going to need somebody in that.
It doesn't, but yeah, but hey, compared to the other guy, he's thinking Charlie Lindgren. But
yeah,
I don't know if Draisaitl's a number one. That's the thing. I think Draisaitl is perfectly fine to be a number two behind McDavid because McDavid takes the.
He's close to a number one. I mean,
he's a better number one. He's a better number one than Duran.
Yeah, he's a better number one than most teams have. Okay,
yeah.
I mean. He's not a number one in Edmonton, but he's, I don't know how many number one centers we have in the NHL if we call Draisaitl not a number one, because then you're talking about maybe we only have 10 number one centers in the NHL, because he's in the top 20 centers.
Until 10 games ago, he wasn't even a center on that team. But
here's the biggest thing, though. The one thing that's not being talked about in the equation, and I get it, like you put it out to the public, so that's fine. Yeah. They have a coach there, Claude Julien. If you all of a sudden trade Carey Price,
he's quitting.
I'm not sure if Claude Julien wants to be there anymore.
He's quitting. He's gonna make them fire him so he gets 3 years worth of security.
It's a great point. I mean, when you take that job, you take it knowing, because one thing coaches love, it's like coaches, it's like their blood pressure medicine is having a good goalie. That's like they need a good
Give
goalie.
me one less thing to worry about.
You don't have the goalie situation. All right, so Colorado weighed in. Now they wanted Noah Juleson as well. So Carey Price and Noah Juleson, what this trade was. No, I'm not laughing at anybody here. So I'm just saying that these are the deals. These are the offers.
I will for you.
You're not laughing. That's fine. That came from me.
Yeah, don't worry. I will for you.
You can find me at Twitter at Sportsology.
Go after Russ fully, okay? Semyon Varlamov, Tyson Barrie, Chris Bigras, Nicholas Milosh, and a first-round pick. All right, so that's a lot of prospects.
So you're basically including in this deal 2 guys who have been on the trade block for Colorado for the last 2 years. So basically,
in Barrie,
in Barrie and in Varlamov, you've heard rumors about Varlamov potentially. Yeah. He had that big year, then he had a bad year, and then all of a sudden there was a lot of trade rumors.
Yeah. Barrie, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Can you at least throw in a McDonald's gift card or something? Like they're just throwing everything into that deal that's worth nothing.
Well, I don't know enough about Chris Bigras and Nicholas Milosh to.
Bigras is an okay player, but it's if I'm giving up Juleson, getting Bigras in return does not help. I mean, it's like I'm not doing that.
Let's be realistic here.
I like Juleson.
If you're trading Carey Price to Colorado, the first name out of Bergevin's mouth is, it's not going to be McKinnon, because they're not going to trade McKinnon. It's going to be Mikko Rantanen. And if it's not Mikko Rantanen,
they're not trading Rantanen.
I know they're not, but that's what you're asking. If they want,
but in this deal, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And if they're not Rantanen and Cale Makar, it's like then you say forget it. You're not getting the assets that you need. So what the hell are you doing a deal for?
Yeah, Colorado's issue is not goaltending, right? So I mean, Varlamov has been fine for them, and I mean, he's not been great, but he's not been the problem, right? So that's like
right.
All right, so then Calgary comes. Now, Calgary is a team that I could see if Price was available, Calgary would be in this thing. They would be a team that would definitely get involved because of a lot of situations. Burke loves Carey Price. Calgary doesn't really have their. I mean, they have Mike Smith, but that's not really their goaltending system.
They have 2 really good young prospects in John Gillies and Tyler Parsons. Which, if you're saying that they want Price, then Montreal would be getting the potential goalie of the future in a deal between the 2. Sure.
So coming back would be, in this deal would be Smith. I guess Mike Smith would be thrown into this trade because you'd have to get the goal. You move the goalie, whatever. Tyler Parsons, like you said, the defenseman. Oliver Killington. Sam Bennett, Michael Stone, and 2 first-round draft picks.
I would make that trade, but Calgary would probably have to shut the doors after that.
Right.
Why do you say this?
They're trading.
Like you might as well just turn out the lights on the Saddle Dome and
I think
just strip mine the organization.
Let's make a trade for Calgary then. Another Calgary deal that was offered as well was Killington again, Spencer Fu, Mike Smith, John Gillies, a first and a conditional second. Now,
I mean, unless Montreal has to take Mike Smith for salary dump purposes, I don't want Mike Smith on the Canadiens. I want the young, Bennett, fine. I would mention the name of Matthew Tkachuk. You may not get him, but I would say I want him in the deal.
Yeah.
I mean, Shillington is the first. He's a good prospect.
I'll take Shillington. I'm fine with him. You're not going to get Tkachuk, but asking for him is right. At the end of the day, though, for me, if I would make that deal if you put in like Jankowski and take out Spencer Fu.
Yes.
Okay, so that's closer.
That's closer.
You'd have to get unless you're getting a super asset, you have to get 3 or 4 good assets that can be NHL players in that type of deal. If you do that, then
for them, maybe someday Jankowski can be a second-line center. At least start out third-line center, and that's fine.
Right. I mean,
one of the things that was really interesting about this was I love how we have some really knowledgeable people in the comment threads. They're really good.
That was close to a good trade, actually.
Yeah. That was pretty close. And then I love the fact that actually in this trade, some people got into it and they said, okay, my team doesn't need him. I'm going to propose a trade for another team, which was kind of cool because usually you don't see that too often. So New Jersey Devils 29 did the unthinkable and tried to make a deal with the Flyers and Carey Price. Now, because he said, I can't believe I'm trying to help the Flyers out here, but this is what he was saying.
He's not really trying to help the Flyers based on let's see what the deal is first.
The deal he threw out first was Sanheim, Lehtera, Hart, Elliott, and a first-round pick and a second-round pick, or Scott Lawton, basically.
Okay. Hart would have to be part of the deal, sure.
Hart would be part of the deal. Sanheim would be part of the deal.
Right.
But he's doing a salary dump with them for Lehtera. Like, I'm not sure Montreal wants to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna have. I think it would have to be one more young piece on top of Hart and Sanheim.
Delios 001 from Montreal responded to this with actually tweaking that trade a little bit, and I will get to that later. But I'm gonna leave that as like a little teaser because I think that might be one of the best deals available here.
Right,
so
I won't comment until we hear the tweet because the tweet might be better.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the Islanders. The Islanders would definitely be in on Carey Price. If Carey Price is available, the Islanders would be all over it.
Tavares done.
I've talked to people. Yeah, that there were people who that debate went on for a long time in the comment thread on my thing of Tavares. People were saying Tavares is more valuable than Price. People saying Price is more valuable than Tavares. That kind of thing, back and forth. Tavares is not getting traded to Montreal for Carey Price.
No,
that's not happening. That defeats the whole. The whole purpose of this is to actually, as Cadillac said, he said we would love to show Tavares and Eberle that we're committed to this team, and Carey Price.
And you're just a few months away from Montreal being able to talk to Tavares without giving up any assets. So
right. So his deal to try to get Price onto the island would be Ho-Sang, Del Cole, Halak, Kulemin, I guess that's the cap balance thing, and a first round pick. So
you ever watch that movie Draft Day?
Yes.
Okay. So you remember when he said, "I'll give you 30 seconds," I would be like, click.
Yeah.
Once I heard that, I would just click.
Has to be a lot more thrown in there than this.
Yes.
I mean,
Del Cole is really unproven. Ho-Sang is up and down right now. Yes, he's a big talent, but he hasn't stuck. You haven't really given me a great talented forward out of this. That's the problem.
The excitement of Halak returning to Montreal is not probably going to do it. Yeah. So I mean, but I do think that the thing we have to remember that if for some reason Montreal does decide to do this, which is not now possible, but maybe possible a year or so from now, depending on how things play out.
Now, like we're watching the World Juniors, throw me Kiefer Bellows, like instead of Del Cole, like maybe because what I see out of Kiefer Bellows, I now have a better opinion of him. Throw him in there. And right now, because he's starring for the U.S., like that's a good thing.
I had a lot of people yesterday who sent me things, by the way, about our podcast that said that they thought Kiefer Bellows should be considered for the U.S. Olympic team.
Mm-hmm.
They would
the list is done.
Right.
I would not be against it. I really wouldn't be. I would have a lot of these kids, but the list is done. That's the problem.
Based on the Canadians' want of French Canadian players, or even players with French Canadian names, they'd probably want Beauvillier over Ho-Sang or
I would think that's true.
But it wouldn't be funny, that in a Price deal, Halak goes back. There's still that small group.
That would be great. I mean, that part of it, I like that part. That's like an awesome creative idea there. Just don't see it happening, but Halak had such a great history in Montreal. There's still such a crazy history.
There's still that small clique that they're probably in one bar in downtown Montreal that think there was a mistake to trade Halak.
There is no question that there are still people who think they should have traded Price and not Halak.
Well, I mean, and that comes off of when they played the Flyers in the playoffs and they took out Price and put Halak in, and he was like a stone wall. But still, that was a moment in time.
Well, Halak beat Pittsburgh and beat Washington that year. Remember in the playoffs, he beat the second best teams in the NHL before that Flyer series. Right. The Flyers actually ran him and proved that if you got big players in front of Halak, he would have issues, and that's really what happened with the Flyers. They put muscle inside the front. Okay, so then the Blues, Clutch Oilers 76 brought the Blues into the fray and said, okay. And the Blues are always an interesting team in these situations because they do get involved in these kind of bigger trade talks. They don't always make them, but Rutherford is always involved. They got a lot of guys. I mean, they're a great drafting team, so they have talent. No, I mean, Doug, you have the situation where you think that if they add Carey Price, I mean, if you're a Blues fan, you're like, it's always been about goaltending. It still is about goaltending. So
Doug Armstrong doesn't shy away from big deals. So
no, he's not afraid at all. So here's the trade: Tage Thompson, Robbie Fabry, Jordan Schmaltz, Jake Allen, and a first-round pick. 4,
Nah,
Price,
it's not happening.
Yeah.
Price, Jordy Bennett, and Galchenyuk. Okay, so this is a
Well,
three.
why is Galchenyuk a throw-in in this?
Galchenyuk is a throw-in. Everyone, people like.
I want to have I want to have a serious talk with the audience for a second. Alex Galchenyuk is a really good player. Stop using him as a throw into a deal when you're already getting a Hall of Fame goaltender.
As someone who has a vested interest and a long love for the Montreal Canadiens, I pray that Marc Bergevin throws in Alex Galchenyuk in a deal, because I don't think he's a superstar. I think he's a good player, and I think he will flourish as soon as he gets out of that place that attacks a player every time they make one mistake.
Well, I think that's what people are saying. People are thinking that, and I think that. No, I agree with you that they would have traded Galchenyuk by now. They've had plenty of opportunities to trade Galchenyuk. If they were going to trade him, they would have traded him this summer. There were every team, I think, threw a Galchenyuk proposal at them. So the fact they didn't trade him when he wasn't doing well at all, they wouldn't trade him then, means that they definitely believe in him long term.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't put anything past the Canadians right now. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of Pacioretty talk out there. Maybe it makes sense because he's got only a year left on his contract. And if I were him, I wouldn't re-sign him.
All right, let's put Pacioretty into this. Let's take Jordy Ben and Galchenyuk out of here and put Pacioretty into this trade for a second. Carey Price and Pacioretty. Okay? For Tage Thompson, Fabry, Schmaltz, Allen, and a first-round draft pick.
Well, I mean, Schmaltz is really unproven. Fabry's really good, but he's injury prone. Like, how much is Jake Allen? How much is Allen making?
Oh,
not small. He's making pretty good money.
Okay.
What about Tage Thompson?
He's a good.
No, Tage Thompson's a terrific talent. I love his size, but he's going to still be on. It's going to take him a few more years. He's not ready, and so
Allen's making 4.3 for another 3 years. Honestly, if you're talking a deal like this where it's a package of young prospects and St. Louis has got a ton of them, you probably have to get either Thomas or Kyrou in that package. Instead of a Schmaltz.
I'm fighting for one of them. And I'm not sure if I want Jake Allen's contract. Like, I might just go free agent goalie. Right. I don't know if I want Jake Allen at 3 years, 4.3. That's the problem.
Not bad for. I mean,
No, it's not bad. But he's not a great goalie. He's a really good one.
Yeah, it depends.
But you got to remember, he's not going to have a great defense in front of him in Montreal.
Right. And St. Louis can. There's plenty of teams out there right now that need goaltending. So if Montreal didn't want him in that deal, they'd find a taker for Jake Allen. I think about that.
Yeah, if you take out Jake Allen and you give me Thomas or Kyrou, I'm thinking about it a little more.
Okay, Eck, what was the?
I'll at least give you a call back on that one.
Yeah, what was the?
I got one more, and then we'll go to the Philly thing real quick and we'll be out of here. All right. So one more is the Blackhawks. Again, trying to get Galchenyuk and Carey Price and a 4th-round pick. I think this guy
they won't do it unless they get the 4th.
This guy did a really good job at explaining this. I definitely recommend going to like page 9 of the comment threads. And Hawks 18 did an excellent job at explaining this whole deal, which I thought was really well done. Okay. But there is a flaw that I have with it, and I think you guys will have the same one. For Artem Anisimov, Alexander Fortan, Marian Hossa, which is a salary dump, right? Ville Polka, Corey Crawford, a 1st and a 2nd. Okay, so that's the
Montreal's not getting anything out of this.
I won't even give you a call back on that.
Montreal is not getting anything out of it.
No,
it's honestly.
The thing here is that Crawford and Price. No. I mean, the Crawford's not.
No,
because Crawford's from Montreal doesn't mean squat. I'm sorry.
You got to give me Ryan Hartman.
Yes, Alex DeBrincat, Ryan Hartman.
Yeah, you got to give me one of those two guys for sure.
Yes. I agree. All right, so let's get on to the deal that I liked. Okay, so this is Delios's response to the New Jersey Devils Flyers deal. Okay, so I'm actually
Delios. This is not the guy who sang for All for One, is it? Because I actually sang with him at an event once.
It might be.
I did.
I don't know.
So do we have bootleg audio of this, Russ?
Yeah, so I actually do. I do. It's myself, Delios, and Laura Nativo, who's a actress/producer. And yes, there is. Not audio, but not video rather, but audio, and it's really bad. Once you hear me, it's very apparent. I even felt bad for Delius. Like I shrugged a little bit. He was going with it because we were all bored.
Okay, give us the trade act.
All right, so Sanheim, Laterra, a 1st or 2nd in 2019, or 2020, or Scott Lawton. Montreal can choose what they wanted. That a first-round pick in 2018. Montreal can choose either Philly or St. Louis's pick because the Flyers have the Blues pick coming up, right?
First-round pick. Phillies because
and Wayne.
You're taking Philly's pick on that, yeah.
And Wayne Simmons for Carey Price. So this is the closest I could get. The other thing I've offered to something that would make some sense to me because, Wayne Simmons is obviously going to be tough for them to sign. Now,
I'll tell you what.
This is,
I'll call you back. It's a pretty good trade. I don't want Scott Lawton, but if you give me Vorobiev, I'll call you back.
Or Frost. Right. Or Frost.
You won't get Frost, but if you give me Vorobiev,
Flyers keep Hart in the trade, so they don't lose Hart. They
right.
get.
But
Price.
you give me Wayne Simmons. I mean, Wayne Simmons is a hell of a player.
If I'm Montreal and I'm Price.
Big difference.
If I'm Montreal and it's Price and you're talking to Philadelphia, I'm giving them a list of 4 or 5 names and saying 2 of them have to be on the list, and the names are Frost, Hart, Patrick. I mean, I'm asking for the best young prospects.
Of course, yeah, you are. I would trade in definitely one of those first-round picks for one of those names.
Yeah. So now the question is, would the Flyers consider this? Would the Flyers consider this trade? Now, it's funny because when I think about this, I still, because of obviously having covered the Flyers for many years like you have, Russ, era Flyers, they would consider this trade.
They would. I don't think these Flyers would because, to be honest, I don't think Ron Hextall ever wants to pay a goalie that kind of money.
Right. I don't think they would. I agree that it would be Ed Snyder would do this. I don't think there's a chance that they'll do that. I think they believe in Hart. I think they see the fact that, in 2 years, Hart will be in the NHL. He'll be making $925,000 a year for 3 years, and then you'll have to pay him if he's good, which I expect him to be. Whereas you're paying a Carey Price $10.5 million for 8 years, and how many injuries has he had over the last 2 or 3?
Yeah, I've got cost certainty in Hart, and I've got Sandstrom as an insurance policy.
Exactly.
I'm sticking with that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so too. Although, if you make this deal now, what are the Flyers over the next couple years, 2 or 3 years? I mean
they're in the mix, but then 5 years down the road, you wish you didn't make the deal.
Yeah, they're in the playoff mix.
Based on what? Why do you wish you didn't make the deal? You have Hart's still coming up. You still have Hart coming up. You have, you obviously have the contract to deal with, but you can buy him out. You can.
Listen, if Carey Price is there and you're all of a sudden going to tell me you're putting Carter Hart in there, you're going to have a big problem getting Carey Price out of there. Even just to play a tandem, you're going to have a big problem.
Oh yeah, no question.
It's a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation.
Yes, you would have a Brett Favre situation on your hands.
Yeah. No, I do agree. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's an interesting concept, and of all the deals, I thought was probably the best in terms.
No, I mean there are some things there that could happen if Hextall if he didn't already have these goaltending prospects, it would be a little more likely. But I also get the feeling, like I said, he doesn't like these big goalie contracts. I could just tell. I don't know if he ever has been quoted on it, but it's the feeling I got out of him for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, or he hasn't, but this is, or you can sit there and say, the contracts the goalies just had to deal with are, Mason and Neuwirth, so it's like really, and Elliott, you're not talking about, you're talking about the best.
But you're not getting Price in his prime anymore either.
Right. That's gone.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's not 100%. I don't 100% agree with that. I think that you still have Price in his prime.
I'm not saying it's bad. Yeah. He's still a great goalie.
Yeah.
But
I think he's not
the goalie he was 3 years ago. He's not.
Maybe. Anyway, it's an interesting debate as always, but I'm sure. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow or anything like that.
He would make the Flyers' defense, their young defense, look a lot better though. Carey Price, he would,
and the Flyers would give him offensive scoring that Montreal never gives him. So you would have a different kind of a situation going on. They would definitely help a lot. Short term, it would help a ton, of course. And Simmons is a hard player to lose for sure. But there is a lot of debate going on now whether the Flyers are going to be able to sign Simmons. That's really starting to,
they can sign him. You're just telling me it's a matter of if they want to. They can sign him. I don't think that's a problem.
It depends on how much money they get once,
Well, they're losing contracts this year.
They are.
And the cap will go up.
Laterra's contract expires the same time that Simmons does, so you can give him Laterra's money. Right. That's $4.8 million.
I think that's what they will do eventually, but I
think that's the plan. I think that's why they did it that way.
Yeah, I think that's why they did it that way too. I agree, and I think the Flyers should not let Simmons go.
Wayne Simmons is just too valuable. you know, it's funny. Like, you're not going to say he's irreplaceable because nobody's irreplaceable. I mean, I might be, but beyond that,
on that note,
yes,
no, but beyond that, Wayne Simmons is one of these intangible guys that plays in front of the net that there's very few of in this era of the NHL. That's the problem.
No, that's really true, and you know, incredible along the boards and everything like that. So yeah, I agree with you, and actually makes Claude Giroux a better player. There's a bunch of things that Wayne Simmons does.
A lot of things. He does a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure. All right, that's all the time we have, Dave. Enjoy the World Junior Games. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about what happens there, of course, and get you ready for the final. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you soon.